President, thank you so much for being here. Today is May 15, 2023. It's 5:30. We're going to begin with this meeting. Madam Clerk, can you go?
Chairman Vargas,
Present.
Vice Chairman Sanchez, absent. Councilman Espinal, absent. Councilor Royas,
Present.
Councilwoman Vargas. Present. 3 present, 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This meeting is for have more and open communication with EPO department. And my colleagues were asking about to have an open meeting to know you better and see what department and what area they work on. And we want to have calling you to the table and explain and present yourself to, yeah, I want to take notice of our Councilwoman T. Graves present.
So,
Welcome. And solicitors, welcome to.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, so we're going to be calling the director, Patricia.
we have to do the first item. on
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
this.
Go ahead, I'll be busy. I'm sorry.
Discussion related to the policy and procedure of the Department of Public Works. The following has been invited: Patricia Coyne, Fact Director; Maureen McManus, Deputy Director; Charles Solomon, Superintendent of the Highways; Craig Huckleman, Chief Engineer; Brian Anderson, Deputy Chief Engineer; Nate Urso, Traffic Engineer; Al Giuliano, Associate Director of Environmental; Dave Mambo, Superintendent.
Thank you. Do I have to do a motion?
No,
just No.
Patricia
is the person. I want to take notice to the Councilwoman, Shirley Pearson. Welcome. Welcome, Director. Thank you for taking the time.
Sure, thank you. Patricia Coyne, Faye, Director of the Department of Public Works. Nice to see you again.
Thank you for coming by. I'm going to have the table open for any questions you have. You can ask questions to the director now.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is probably, I think this is gonna be a random question, but it's something that is, I think, pressing in my neighborhood. I'm sure across neighborhoods in Providence is maybe it's 2 questions, but empty lots being illegally dumped on. There's on one end, there's city-owned lots that the city has jurisdiction over, and then there might be private lots. And I think for a lot of residents, they're not looking at it as private versus publicly owned. If there's illegal dumping, folks who live nearby want that immediately removed. And so what we're finding is that it sounds like city policy is that if it's a privately owned lot, then that owner of the lot is responsible for it. And so the city will cite the owner, but oftentimes residents are looking at, for a immediate results, a quick fix, and citing the owner might not move that owner immediately to clean up that lot. And so I just had questions around that. There's also just sometimes there's, it could be a vacant home, or it could just be a home that is occupied, and illegal dumping might take place on that property or in front of the property. And what I'm finding is that the owner of that property might say, that wasn't me. It's not fair that I now have to pay to remove this. So I just kind of wanted to put that on the table. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm finding that, like, as counselors, we want that removed. We realize that there is a real public versus private component to this. But how can we make this easier for you all? Because at the end of the day, residents just want, when they see trash, when they see illegal dumping, they're not looking at it as a public versus private. They just want it to be removed.
Right. Thank you. So what I can tell you is that in my so far short tenure at DPW, this is the issue that I hear about more than anything else: littering and illegal dumping. So you're right, there is a distinction, so I'd like to kind of go, unravel that a little bit, and hopefully I'll bring some clarity. So illegal dumping in public spaces. Certainly there's an enforcement aspect to that, and that is really difficult. You almost have to be right there when it happens, which obviously our police department doesn't have the resources to do that kind of thing. What I have been doing is working with Colonel Perez on alternatives to having a police officer sitting watching that lot. And one of the things that we worked out is the installation of a camera. He actually loaned us one of the cameras they use for narcotics operations. And it is currently positioned in a place that we identified as an area of a very, very frequent illegal dumping. How long has it been there? A month, maybe? We check that site 3 times a week. There hasn't been illegal dumping since the camera, so I guess they started. But if the person doing the dumping didn't see the camera and continued to do that, basically the arrangement I have with the colonel is that DPW highway staff, when they see that someone has done some illegal dumping, they're going to pull that camera, pull the video, and hopefully identify the person and prosecute the person very publicly, so that the message gets out very clearly that this is no longer tolerated in Providence. We will find you, we will catch you, we will prosecute you. Kind of, that first sort of unlucky person is going to be the poster child for illegal dumping enforcement. But enforcement is really the key there, and it is a really difficult thing to get done. It's just the nature of that particular beast. You are correct that private lots are not within our jurisdiction, but it's not city policy. I mean, that's actually a legality. That's the law. We don't have the authority or the ability to go onto private property to clean unless there's been a lien placed on the property. And as I'm sure you know, that's a lengthy process. And so I appreciate the frustration of the neighbors. They don't care whether it's public or private. All they know is they have this big pile of junk in their neighborhood that they're certainly looking at. I can tell you that there is a working group right now in the mayor's administration where representatives of DPW, representatives of property, inspections and standards, and believe it or not, arts and tourism. We meet weekly, and we call ourselves the Quality of Life Working Group because we want to address those issues that seem almost unsolvable, but are so critical to quality of life. So graffiti and illegal dumping, those are our 2 biggest hurdles. And so that's a problem that we recognize and that we're definitely working on, literally meeting on a regular weekly basis to try to combat. We're trying to figure out, and we're already figuring out, where maybe we're duplicating effort between 2 departments, or where maybe we can overlap in a better way, just trying to figure out where the efficiencies are and then deploy our limited resources in a way that works better than right now, where departments don't talk much. In terms of, what to do with the homeowner who maybe is a victim of illegal dumping, or things are left in front of that tenant's house, right? It's impossible for us to get into the business of determining, no offense, but I mean, this person saying, I didn't do it, somebody left it there. I mean, we can't get into that sort of investigation every time somebody has a mattress in front of their house. So one thing I can say though, is there are opportunities in the budget submission to create ways of helping residents deal with that kind of issue that doesn't really strictly fall within DPW. And also the contract that we want to, with waste management, we want to extend that contract for another year and use that year as an opportunity to craft an RFP that we think will better help us address issues like this one that you just described. And certainly we'll be working with the council on that. And so I think there's opportunities to make it better, recognizing this, like I said, the biggest complaint, the biggest headache that people have. There's an educational component to it, but really, it's really about sending that message, catching that person, making a loud, splashy example of an illegal dumper to send the message, because I think up till now, people have just been getting away with it, and it's not really been an issue.
Thank you, Director, for that.
Sure.
Could I just ask a follow-up question? Is it, this might seem like an odd ask, but for those private lots, when things are not moving fast enough because it's a private owner. And of course, it depends on what's inside this lot, right? Like if it's severely dumped on, that there might be things that are just not feasible for ordinary people to clean up.
Right.
But in a lot that might be still feasible for good Samaritans to clean up, they want to galvanize their neighbors. Could it be a scenario where they clean up that private lot and they put the items on along the public sidewalk for potential DPW to pick up? Could that be an arrangement that's possible?
So we do that now,
Yeah.
community cleanups.
Yes, but I don't know if there's a difference in, with a sidewalk that needs to be cleaned up versus a lot that needs to be cleaned up. I feel like there might be a difference, like a larger burden for DPW.
Yeah.
But if that is an arrangement that sounds like if that could continue, that'd be amazing.
There is kind of a weird distinction, but so there are groups that do regular community cleanups, and then, we know about it in advance, and I have, as you can see, the whole team with me here today. And so what I would like to do at some point is introduce you to all of them, and so that have them talk about what it is they do. But I know that we're very supportive of various community groups that do those kinds of cleanups. Where it gets a little iffy is if it's somebody's backyard and they've let it go, and now you want to put all the stuff out onto the sidewalk from the that's where it gets.
For sure.
But, we are interested in the possibility in the budget of setting up some kind of fund that, in my understanding or my imagination would be maybe like, I don't want to call it a grant program, but kind of like a grant program where each council person could petition for use of some of the funds and it could be for something like that, or it could be for a neighborhood group that deals with the littering in particular areas or something, But I think there are opportunities in the upcoming budget submission to help deal with some of these issues.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you. My voice keeps coming in and out today, so I apologize. These allergies are getting the best of me. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and I apologize. I had to leave early prior to the discussion that you guys had during finance. So if some of my questions are repeats, I apologize in advance. But I do have a few. So let's see. Speed bumps. It is probably the question of the hour for many of us as we talk to our constituents, and those of us that hear it often hear, when are they coming? Can you give us a status on the speed bumps?
Absolutely. So this morning, we met with the mayor and his chief of operations. And we being myself, Deputy Director McManus, and Traffic Engineer Supervisor Nate Urso, and basically presented various scenarios to the mayor about various kinds of traffic calming, what's most effective, what things cost, what have been studied, and so forth. So where we landed was wanting to come up with a process that allows council initiation for, if, let's say you want to speed bump in your neighborhood, right, or a neighborhood in your ward. Public participation, so that it's not just the squeakiest wheel, if you will, on that street that gets it done. Really needs to be support and an ask from the neighborhood, not just the one person on the street who wants to bump. And then, we envision a situation where shortly after that request is made, there could be maybe a temporary solution. Maybe we want to increase the use of those temporary speed bumps because they can be taken out in the winter. There can then be a better study as to how well is this working, how much is it needed, what's the impact on the next road over. Because sometimes if you put the speed bump here, people don't speed here anymore, they just go to the next street, now they want a speed bump. And so, I mean, this was literally this morning, so we haven't put pen to paper yet. But for those requests that have already been waiting, such as I'm sure you have some, and I know Councilman Chair Vargas has some. We want to address those first, make sure that, you know, we understand where it's gonna be and whether or not there's been a study done. And then offer a temporary speed bump or a temporary solution. And then that gives us some time to kind of further evaluate the impact while still giving people that, you know, obviously addressing the request. And also consideration of other kinds of traffic calming, because it's not just speed bumps that is within the option. Sometimes even just signage can get people to slow down. The ones that flash this, you know, the speed limit, or the speed that you're going, you know, those things. And so that's basically the update. We literally met this morning, got our homework assignment, began working on it this afternoon, but I don't think it's going to be very long. And frankly, we're going to start with the ones that are already been in the hopper and that you've been waiting for.
Yeah, just to add to that one, so there's streets that have already gone through the temporary speed bump, especially in my particular ward, I'm speaking of Mink Road as one of them. They've already done the traffic study.
Sure.
They've, if I'm not mistaken, the traffic study and the temporaries. And they're chomping at the bit. And this is, I agree with you that there needs to be a collaborative approach to this where the community needs to participate. We've gotten to all of those particular people, and that particular street is very, very, very cognizant of what they want. They're very vocal, which is great. So for those that have already gone through the process at this point, maybe you guys will have some more of a quicker update for those.
Sure,
that don't do all that.
I think that, you know, Nate has the understanding of what's all been on, like the list, so to speak.
Great.
So certainly something that is that far along in the process would be easier to be a priority too. That's
Great.
something-
Thank you for that. Can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sewer infrastructure.
Mhm.
You know exactly what I'm getting to. One of the
One
things,
stuff.
yes. Well, one of the things that I think is extremely important is to find out whether or not we're updating or we have any plans in this coming budget to update our pipes or anything along those lines, any upcoming federal grants that might be in the pipeline, for lack of a better word.
So this is the point that I want to turn over to some experts.
Yes,
This is not where I'm an expert. So Craig Hockman is the head of the engineering division. He could not be here tonight, but he has delegated Brian Anderson, who is basically second in command. And so I think between Brian and Dave Mandro, the head of sewer, if you guys want to try to talk about.
Please come to the table.
Come on down.
Very much.
How you doing? Yeah, come on in.
Welcome to the table.
Not the budget meeting, Brian.
For the record, my name is Brian Mandus, Deputy Chief Engineer.
Aiden.
Engineering Division. I'm David Mandus, Superintendent of Civil Construction.
Welcome.
So the question on sewers, so probably many of you are aware, we have a lot of sewers in the city. A portion of them, particularly some of the mains, are owned and operated by Narragansett Bay Commission. A lot of the service laterals and smaller lines have become City of Providence, DPW's responsibility. We are currently, it's 22 miles of sewer. We're planning on getting cambered and clean, so we can evaluate them to see, you know, some of the critical areas, you know, some bridges, underpasses, other areas where we know we suspect we have issues. So we're in the process of getting a contract together to get them cleaned in line, but cleaned in video, so that we can see which ones need attention and try to come up with a priority list. And then based on that, evaluate with the available budget. I believe we have some funding through ARPA to get some of those fixed. So that's what we currently have in the process, but we have not yet started to video those, but that should be soon.
This is a great question. Just want to add, David, will there be, I'm sorry, is it Brian? Brian, sorry. Brian, once you do that sort of study of the sewer infrastructure and what needs to be cleaned, is there maybe this is a broad question for DBW is, if, for example, if there's a lot of sewer that needs to be looked at in a specific neighborhood, will there be communication to the counselor so they can present that info to the residents at each of our monthly neighborhood meeting? Because it's just good, the DBW is such a public facing sort of,
Yeah, so if we went through the process and we found out, okay, in this one area, we have some severe sewer issues, we need to address those. As we formulate that project, we would outreach to the council and the administration to let them know that is, make sure the project is, everyone's on board with it. And then as we progress through it, we would reach out with the council office and the count, and whatever councilors work by those improvements to make sure that they had the knowledge and knew what was going on so they could inform their constituents.
Okay.
And if needed, we would be, available for support of public meetings and other things like that to make sure everyone understood the project, the deficiencies and the need to repair.
thank you. Sorry.
No, can I keep going? One of the concerns, and this is probably traveling to multiple houses at this point, but one of the issues that we've had, and Dave, I know you and I you came to one of my meetings and you were very helpful, but it brought on a lot more questions. One of the issues that we had was, or we currently have, is a home on Academy Ave that the pipes are being the roots of a tree that was planted are coming through into the pipeline. This is a constant issue from what, as I've shared with other counselors, kind of what is going on in your area. They've all consistently said, this is a common problem. And what we've noticed, at least on our end, is like, looking for it's the chicken or the egg. Parks is like, not really our issue, homeowners, it may not necessarily have to be that homeowner, but homeowners have approved a tree planting here. It's actually the fact that our pipelines are made of clay. This is the reason why it's happening. And we have an ordinance on hand that says, hey, by the way, homeowner, you're responsible from your home to the main line. And in this day and age where we have many of our homeowners just barely getting by, the cost constraint and the cost to do this is a severe hindrance. So in terms of like updates to pipelines, sewer lines or anything, I was trying to see if there was any opportunity for something like that to be either something that we can seek out some additional federal funding for, or something, because this is a point of concern. I think all of us as counselors have had this particular issue, and there are some homeowners that don't, they pay the whatever, it depends on the area, or depends on the home from what I'm hearing, but sometimes it's 6,000, sometimes it's 10,000, sometimes it's 13,000, and 13,000 is a big chunk of change to try and ask, an elderly couple that's on fixed income to try and to take on, so.
Absolutely it is, and we're aware of that. There are, there is sort of the responsibilities of, within the public right of way and with the homeowner, the laterals are the responsibility of the property owner. And it does get expensive with the older lines to get those fixed. I would say, it's homeownership, unfortunately, can be expensive. Sometimes on projects, if we come through, we might replace a section of some of the service laterals, not necessarily to the house, but some pieces that might fail. If we see them as we're going through the project to try to help with that. But we have a sewer system. Other places, rural areas might have septic systems. So a homeowner has a septic system. The septic system fails. It's very expensive. So just keep that in mind. It's not that those type of things, like the water lateral, anything that serves the home, the driveway apron, things like that, they get very expensive. So it's kind of trying to find out the balance to where we can come through and do a project that may be helpful to a homeowner, but also be mindful that there are certain things that are responsibilities of the homeowner. The chief engineer, Craig Hockman, he is one of his ongoing things is trying to find grant money for sewers and other things to see where there's opportunities for all different types of money to come in. And I'm sure if you were to come across something like that, right now it's not sewer, but Providence Water has received a grant, for lead service replacements.
Right.
Which helps homeowners in those cases where they can now come in and elect to have those service lines in place.
Mhm.
So if there is an opportunity and we find one, then we can certainly pursue that.
Great,
But unfortunately, right now, I can't
yeah,
come forward and say that we can. go fix
Completely
all the
understand.
issues.
Unfortunately,
there's some of that burden does fall on the property.
right, and I agree to the extent of the burden falling on the property owner, it's just, as property owners, they don't necessarily get to inspect what their pipelines look like. So in an inspection, when they're reviewing their home to see if it's something that they would be feasible to purchase,
Mhm.
they don't get to go in and look, hey, this is, the sewer line looks great, or there's an obstruction or something that I'm going to need to prepare for. So I'm trying to do some forward thinking and seeing where we as counselors could help, either by preparing some ordinance where we request that, I don't know if it's something that's possible, but something where we request that become part of an inspection or something along those lines, so that it's in an effort to help the homeowner as well, and the city, because I think it has a benefit to both sides.
And I don't know if NBC or inspections and standards, I don't believe you can go to, maybe there's something that could be put together from
Yeah,
collaboration or something more on sort of some recommended procedures if somebody's coming in to purchase a property.
yeah,
That they know, whereas, a lot of people grow areas, go back to septic, hopefully the septic inspection.
Right.
People don't think I should do a camera of the sewer to see what that is like. Because that is something that can be very valuable
right,
as someone goes to purchase a home,
Yeah.
so. Maybe there's something that is, is, we develop different things that, wherever it might best get to them.
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly which department that might be,
Mhm.
possibly inspection standards, that sort of thing. Here's a recommended
okay.
checklist on what you should do before purchasing the property.
Something like that, I think would be extremely beneficial. It's something that I think that we can all advocate on behalf of for our homeowners and renters that are going into homeownership or something along those lines.
I just don't know, inspections and standards may already happen, I
Yeah.
don't work with the piece of the day-to-day, I work with, Greg works with inspections and standards and all
Got
that development homeowners, so. They may have something like that, they may not,
Okay.
that is something that could be pursued to see if that would help.
Cool. What were you gonna say?
Chair, you mind if I ask? But, did you want to ask any questions? I feel like I'm.
Well, the question I have for the director, two things. We have an epidemic for the mattress. And then thinking that the council have to pick up, so I don't know. I know I spoke to you, but because I see it every week, in different street. So we have a like decoration mattress, so. And that's for me, bother me all the time when you see some gold or when you see it. So we need to fix it that.
I've never seen so many mattresses in my life.
Yes.
It's like.
So people move it a lot, and then I think it has to take it, the garbage,
Mhm.
like, the mattress, so you leave it all the time, especially in my work.
So every Saturday at 700 Allen's Ave, there's a mattress depot.
I pass the information, but if people want it, pick up.
So they can arrange for the mattress to be picked up by Waste Management. There is a cost associated with that.
Yeah,
It can be revisited when we put out the RFP. That's a
when we
possibility.
see in the street and in the sidewalk. So no, it's,
Sure.
and you asking, does it belong to you? Oh, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not
In
mine.
the highway department, the highway division of DPW picks up mattresses off the side of the road. Last year, I think Sal told me, but 1,876 mattresses that they picked up from the side of the road. We've taken almost over 7,000 mattresses.
Wow.
In the Saturday depot. The thing is though, and it's a problem because if someone brings a mattress to us on a Saturday and it's in decent shape and it hasn't been outside, it's not wet, it's not gross. We have trailers, we put those mattresses in and we can bring them to be recycled. If they're on the side of the highway, then they're dirty and can't be recycled. And then we actually have to pay for that, to bring that to the landfill. So it's definitely, something that we want people to avail themselves of by coming on Saturday. I understand not everyone has, maybe you don't have a friend with a truck, I get
That's
that.
one thing.
Sure. But, you know, try to encourage people to use that avenue. Not every town has that, where they'll accept mattresses every Saturday for free. Most towns don't, where I live, I don't. And so, you know, what I would say is encourage that service, encourage the use of that service.
The other question I have for the sewer, I receive so many, people in my work is they want to cut it up, the tree, because we've got it, you know,
If the roots are
the
going.
root grow inside and everything. So I have especially one, okay, he's go in the different office and he said he cannot cut it out and the city's not cut it out, so I don't know what can I do with it to sort that problem.
When I got a complaint of roots in a lateral, I told the constituent, get the documentation from a plumber, submit it to the forestry division to cut the tree down.
Okay,
A lot of times forestry don't want to cut them
They don't
down.
wanna cut them
Oh,
down.
it's a tree, yes, I'm all for the environment too, I'm all for trees, but it's causing a problem. If you don't remove the tree, which is the problem, it's proven, that root's gonna grow back no matter what you do. You put root X in, you have the roots cut out and keep growing back. And forestry should work a little more with that. I can't dictate what forestry does. You know, the tree you're talking about
Yeah.
over on River Avenue. right
Academy,
from
yeah.
Academy Avenue, I went by there, that tree is, you know, about 19 feet from the lateral exit property. That means that root infiltration, if they have documentation, that root infiltration is all the way 19 feet, they don't want to cut down the tree. That constituent can spend thousands of dollars over years, have them cut out, have it treated, having root control come in. Who can afford to have a company come in yearly or monthly in this day? But if they don't cut the tree down, it's gonna keep coming back. We have to remove the root ball. We had one on Westminster Street, way Boston, I'm sorry. There's no trees there anymore, across from Keep that. The root ball was still alive. We had to pay to have it, we had to hire a company to cut it up. It will still survive without the tree.
Yeah.
So you remove, you have to remove it, take the tree down. It'll be okay.
so the one thing the client had to do is have it approved, okay, he have a problem. And the second one, you know, give it information to the city and then the follow up.
Yes, I can't go over there and cut a tree down.
No.
I wish I could, believe me, but, you know, I mean, forestry has to, I think the forester will look at the trees, see if it's a healthy tree. And then discuss other ways, sometimes they can grind the root where it won't grow, but it's gonna, over time, it will.
Okay.
Another question, thank you. Any other question?
Yes,
One question?
on the topic of sewers, yeah, just, is there, I'm not expert on trees and sewers, so I just. When a tree is planted, is there, laws that govern, like, for example, this species of trees, these roots will grow this far, therefore, it's probably not a good idea to plant this tree close to the sewer line, and is there a map that the city uses to say, okay, we can't plant this tree here because we know the sewer's right, you know, a few feet away from this, from if we were to plant this tree here?
In that case, I would request, yes, you can get a blueprint for the property or a street print to see where the lateral comes out. Tree species and how far the roots infiltrate, that would be who's this, I don't know, the city forester.
Agent.
The city forester should work with the sewer department or engineering. Say, hey, we're gonna plant these trees at these locations. We have the blueprint and how far and what type of tree should we use in that?
And
Yes.
that's why I think where I'm getting, I don't want to pit departments like against one another, because we're one city, right? But does that communication happen consistently between both departments?
I'm sorry, I got the answer for you, Councilman. I am a tree leader. This is the way to do it. PP. It's a program called PPA program, Maureen knows about it. So they send, dig safe. And they mark where the lines are, gas, water, and sewer. If no space for the tree, they won't plant a tree.
Okay.
Because they're protecting the sewer line, they're protecting the water line. And so the new aspect today to plant the tree has to be 3x4.
So trees, I'm sorry, so trees planted in the present day are looking at all those variables. So the issues that remain today regarding trees and sewers happened years ago, decades ago.
If I can clarify,
Yeah.
Chairman, sewer does not do big safe. We get requests all the time, we're the deepest utility, we normally we don't do big safes. Contractors doing work in the road or any other type of work, they would recommend a sewer print from the engineering division to reference, but we don't monitor sewer. So it's very easily available for a list to come over to us or me or engineers, say, hey, we're gonna be planting trees, can we get the prints? Just to make sure, other utilities, they'll monitor.
Yeah, and the trees that are being planted today are not like the old, large, mature ones. They're ones that are much more suited to working near utilities, working with sidewalks. Versus ones that, you'll see the big mature trees, they look great, but then you look at the sidewalk or things beyond it, and it really doesn't play nice together.
Right.
So those things are being factored in, like Dave said, just for those of you who are, if you're familiar with I apologize for sort of things that but Dig Safe is sort of for the public, the private utilities, so you have gas, water, electric, communications. The cities does not participate in Dig Safe, we're not, so when the Dig Safe gets a call in, we have information that people need to come in and they know if they're doing work, they need to come and get the sewer and drainage plans from the city to see where sewer, and those are much easier to see. You'll see manholes on the road, it's a straight line in between. But we don't mark out, like they said, as some of the private utilities with like gas, so you don't see the green markings for sewer, like you would yellow for gas or red for electric and blue for water. But there's information available, and I do believe most people are looking at that information to make sure they're not putting things in a conflicting manner. At least new installations.
Thank you. Any other questions for the,
Man,
go ahead,
why is for waste management? I noticed that you said you're gonna do another year with them. There are still issues with them breaking up the garbage bins themselves, the way they just kind of just toss them and, they're tearing up. Knocking up people's houses, knocking up the fences, they're not totally emptying. I have to admit, I was one of the ones that was complaining back in the day, but they seem to be doing a little bit better, but is there any way? Because when you call, you're not getting any response, so once these bins are torn up, a lot of the people that, 2/3 of the people in Providence are renters. And there's nobody, the landlord is not there, so it falls on them, and so they're running around, you see one with a one wheel or the top's busted or, all these different things. And they're told they have to pay for these bins. What can you do, or is there a way that you really get waste management, because if they're the ones tearing it up.
Right.
Then the people should not be.
So I'll offer my 2 cents and then I'll ask Al to jump in, head of the environmental unit. A couple of things. So those carts have kind of started to reach the end of their life. So they probably break a lot easier than they might have when they were new. There is a process, and I recognize it's a frustrating process, but there is a process that you can follow if you witness the waste management personnel being abusive toward the garbage cart and throwing it around, and that's why it broke. There is a process through waste management. I do recognize that it's a bit frustrating. It's one of those telephonic limbo things, but it's their process. You can get a replacement cart. Yes, there is a fee, and frankly, the fee is, I want to say, half of what the actual cost of the cart is. It's over $100, and we charge about half of that. But 2 more things that I will say is, one is, as we look at putting on RFP for a new waste management or trash management, I don't want to use the name of their company, but a new RFP for that service. that process or that scenario maybe is a consideration, and so I would encourage you to bring that to the table when as we work with the council on a new RFP. And the last thing I would say is that we have applied for a grant with the sustainability department, and if we receive that grant, and we're really crossing our fingers. It's a very, very competitive grant process. If we receive it, we would like to use it to replace everyone's parts and to also make sure that their recycling bin is the same size as their trash bin, so that people don't put their overflow trash in the recycle bin and now the recycling is contaminated. But I mean, I recognize that that those parts have kind of reached they're coming to the end of their life. But the cost of the resin to make those parts has gone through the roof like everything else. And so, yes, there is a cost, but it's actually much less than what the real cost of that part is. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
So the cost is not.
Before we're done, we'll have everyone at the table.
Yeah. The cost is not really lie on the resident. It's the owner that's responsible to replace those barrels. We don't really charge the resident. We will charge the owner. And we only charge them when there's barrels missing from the property that we already issued. So if it's missing, yes, they have to pay. It's $50. We pay $75 for the barrel right now. We pay more. We pay a lot of money for the parts. So if the barrel is broken, or if the lid is broken, or the wheel assembly is broken, we repair that for free, and we replace that broken barrel for free. How long can we do that? I don't know. We're giving them a lifetime warranty on a barrel that could break 6 years down the road, and then it could break 10 years after that. The warranty we get is 10 years. And like the director said, these big green barrels that are out there, those are about 15 years old plus. Those are old. So, yeah, we're working with the EPA. Hopefully, if we get a grant, we're going to get new barrels, 95-gallon size of each, which hopefully is going to curtail the recycling problem that we have. There'll be enough trash in the trash barrel where they won't have to put the excess trash in the recycle barrel. Yeah. But the cost doesn't, again, it's not on the resident. We charge the owner of the property, and we ask for the owner of the property to make the request, because when we have residents doing it, it's uncontrollable. So we ask for the owners report.
So that, I'm sorry, so that's where it falls in, a lot of these landlords aren't requesting it because they don't want to pay, so, but it's the tenants that have to put their garbage out, so are you just giving them the barrels, because it's time that you're not, and they're saying that you're
We're
not.
giving them the barrel if it's broken. If it's broken, we'll replace it. If it's
No.
missing, we don't give them the barrel now.
No.
Somebody's gonna pay for it.
Yes, which is back to, if the landlord's not paying for it, and the tenant is the one that needs it, are you giving them the barrels? Doesn't sound like you're charging the landlord if the landlord's not requesting it.
So it's up to them to get the landlord to give us a call, and then we'll charge them. We don't just give barrels out to anybody who requests it. Unfortunately, we used to do that, and barrels went out the door like crazy. And now we're finding, when we go to properties, if it's a two-family, they've got 3 barrels and 3 to 6 barrels. They've got more barrels than they need, because at one time they were distributing them like this free for everybody. And believe me, we've gone out and done it. And there's a lot of houses out there that have way more barrels than they should have. So again, if we have this new rollout, everybody's going to get what they need, and then every other barrel is going to come back to us. But yes, do we give them out to anybody? No, we don't. No, it's got to be paid for by the landlord, and usually they can get in touch with the landlord, and he calls us, and we've never had really instances where we don't get contacted by the we usually do.
Okay, I'm sorry, I do know of a couple of instances where people are stealing other people's barrels.
Oh, they do that.
You know, because they're like, well, I'm not paying for it, the landlord's not paying for it, so they're stealing other people's barrels.
They steal them
Yeah.
too because they don't have enough room. They know the game.
They steal them because since COVID, they have a lot more people maybe living in that household. You know, the parents have asked the children to move in with their grandchildren, and now they're generating more trash than the barrels hold. So now they're in a position where they'll steal the barrel. Yes, we just delivered some on South Street. We take pictures, we give them brand new barrels, and the guy called and says, "Oh, we're missing a barrel already." Someone stole it. This is what they do, fortunately.
Yeah.
This is really not control from us over what happens to the barrels. So it's a fight. It's a fight for us. And the course, like I said, the course is just out of control.
But that, I'm sorry,
Uh,
that barrel, you don't have any number, can people see the
Yes.
particular number, can we
Yeah, they
can
have-
double check who got?
They have serial numbers.
Okay.
We can only check by what we distributed. We don't have a machine to go out and say it's not leaking or anything like that. When they issue the barrels, they will have a machine that does that. And they'll record all the new serial barrels, numbers for the barrels at the resident that it's supposed to be at. But it's tough to control. Like I said, once it's not like a shopping cart. If you pick it up off the grounds, it won't wheel anymore. These things, people steal them. Much like mattresses, which I did want to make a little bit of a comment to. The people do the same thing, like Councilman Sanchez says. I don't not believe it wasn't dumped there, but I have a hard time thinking somebody driving down the street looking to dump a mattress. But I do believe people across the street might have dragged them over because they already know the deal. They know that if they put them out and they're not paying for them, we come along and they didn't pay, and they didn't call, they didn't do anything, we give them the ticket and then we remove it, and they know the landlord's gonna get that ticket. So there are some people, believe it or not, that will drag that mattress across the street, put it in front of anybody's house, just not to pay for it. But if I may,
all right,
Councilman Vargas has had one of the most productive mattress collections off-site that I have ever seen. We did a mattress collection for him. I've only been in this position 20 months, so we did one for him last June or July, whatever it was. He brought in 100 and almost 110 mattresses off-site. And I invite any of you people to whole mattress collection off-site. But I'm going to put a little bit of responsibility on you. What we did for the councilman is we'll drive around, we'll identify where mattresses are, because what people do is they can't afford to take it and they don't have a car or a truck to take it. So it stays in the yard.
Right.
It stays in the yard, stays in the yard, stays without any movement. And these become sources of rat hemorrhage.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what happened with the councilman. So with the councilman, we rode around, we identified properties that do have mattresses. We do not find these people. If we cannot get those mattresses off that property, the councilman or whoever holds these mattress collections, it's up to you to get a committee, get a crew to go out, knock on the door, get that mattress off that property and take it to your collection, wherever you're holding it. This is part of it. You just don't wait for people to come because then it's not as productive. We give you a list. We expect you to help with the work, which the councilman did. Again, the most I've ever seen, but one short story, somebody went and picked up a mattress that we had that as an address. They dropped it in the schoolyard and you want to see the rats going out of that mattress. Councilman was chasing them around with a shovel. And they just dispersed into the whole neighborhood. Right? Right? But they become a hemorrhage for rats, for roads, right? So it's important to get these out of the yard. So if you have one in your ward, we'll be glad. We'd like to know first so we can arrange maybe putting a pod or something there, because we're gonna take in, like the director said, we're gonna take in good ones and we're gonna take in bad ones. The bad ones, we pay $2,000 a ton for at the landfill. It's a lot of money. The good ones that we can recycle, they go free. We bring them back, or we'll bring a pod there. We'll have a pod set up from mobile storage. Put the good ones in the pod, they pick them up Monday morning. So it'll be on Saturday. The bad ones we take back to DPW, or we might, if it's close enough, we'll truck them back to DPW. But we'll help you get the mattresses out of your ward for free. After that, if they're still in the yard, then we're gonna find people.
Mhm.
What's fair? That's fair.
And
We good?
we're good. Any other question for?
Just a question around trash bins. I'm not gonna mention the street. I don't wanna call any specific street in my neighborhood, but there's a street that leaves out their bins, multiple moldy unit
Lake
homes.
Street.
You know, North End, if you're watching, I did not say
We've
it.
been out there many times, right?
So it's still happening
All the time.
all the time. I know the next step was to,
Take the ballots away.
has that, and I think that puts downward pressure on the tenants. And maybe so the tenants should be the ones responsible for bringing those in.
More responsible anyway, right? They leave them on the curb and then they take their garbage up in the house.
That's right.
And they never move them back off the sidewalk.
I'm worried if we move to that as a next step.
We haven't yet, but those houses there are alleged, that's coming because it just doesn't end.
It doesn't, it hurts my soul every time I drive by.
Absolutely.
But what I'm worried about, I'm sorry, it's Al?
Yeah.
Al. What I'm worried about, Al, is we removed the bins and folks are gonna put trash bags on the sidewalk.
Well,
Has that, in your experience, has that happened?
well, at that point, we'll send a letter to the owner explaining what we're gonna do. And now it will be up to him to provide them with a dumpster service.
That was gonna be my next question. Okay,
And
perfect.
if he doesn't get a dumpster service, if they continue just to put trash on the sidewalk, which is a lot worse than overflowing of barrels out there,
Right.
we'll have to continue to find them, but yet still pick up the trash. Now, that's waste management doesn't pick up trash bags on the sidewalk. That would be on us to get. And it'll tax our department more. So we really don't want to go there. But how many times can you allow this to go on without those people not reacting? They don't do anything. So, yeah, we're working on those Lake Street properties.
Yes, thank you. I just, another question is, I really want to do significant outreach with those residents there. I think I'd reach out to the amazing Mary Lee from council staff. And I asked for like sort of a template letter.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to drop off any letters to these apartments before we take that.
You mean as far as the rules for leaving the barrels out on the sidewalk?
Or even just, I'd be happy to kind of take that letter and then use some of it and write a personalized letter from me.
Yeah.
To get these folks, hopefully, make that a step before we move forward with removing the bins from the property. I wanna at least start there first. So if there's a way, if there's a letter that you all have that I could.
Actually, the council has this rule. So up until, I think it was a year or two ago, we would go out and we would find the house. So then they looked into it and somebody contested it, that it shouldn't be a ticket immediately. So now, the turn of every year, the first time we issue anything to those houses with barrels on the sidewalk is a warning. We send a warning letter to them, letting them know that this is a warning, your barrels are left on the sidewalk, they need to be out at no earlier than 4 o'clock the day before, and they have to remove. We try to give that next day as a grace period because people get home late from work and stuff, so the following day, if they're out there, that's too late. So we send that letter, the first fine after that is $25, the next fine is $50, and any subsequent fines after that are $100. But again,
And now he's sending that letter to the owner or to the. Got it. So I'm trying to reach, because if it's not owner occupied, I'm really trying to reach those tenants.
Well, the owner should let them know, because if he doesn't have anything in the lease saying that if these tenants cause tickets to me, the tenants are going to be responsible to pay. If he doesn't have that in there, then he's going to be responsible to pay. So it's advantageous for him to let the tenants know that they're causing the property owner to be given fines repeatedly.
If I could, also, one of the pieces of this, I think, is that the fines, the tickets that go to the owner, particularly a non-resident owner, have no teeth. There's no incentive for that owner to change their behavior or to lean on their tenant to change their behavior.
Right.
So that's one of the conversations that we're having with the administration, with the city solicitor's office about, what I'd like to see is a proposed ordinance or maybe a change to an ordinance to have those, fines have a little more consequence to them. Of all the fines we issue, we collect over 20%.
We issued $1,100,000 in fines, we collected a little shy of 200,000, not
Yeah.
even 20%.
Yeah, because if you don't pay it, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
It's,
So
the credit-
we have, right, so we'd like to have those fines, those tickets to the owners have a little more teeth, a little more impact. So that they pay attention to them and then so that they make their tenants change their behavior.
And what would that look like legally for more teeth?
So one of the things that I've talked to the solicitor's office about is, perhaps having it affect their credit. Having, the non-payment of that fine could affect their credit. There are other programs that the state has for entities that collect fees or fines that aren't paid, where they're able to, impact the person financially in other ways. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to create controversy and then find out later that it wasn't possible and we gave everyone a notice. But basically we are, I am interested in exploring ways with legal counsel to make those fines mean something, because right now.
Yeah, and it only happens once they learn that they didn't pay the fine and nothing happened.
Yeah.
If they're pretty good about it, they'll pay the fine and they'll address it.
Just a follow-up on that. So a follow-up on that, you said at the turn of the year, it starts with a warning again.
Every year, that's what the council people have proposed, I think, back a few years ago.
Okay.
So every year, we cannot say this is a repeat offender because.
Okay. And then can you explain to me what the process is right now? So you fine once $25, you fine again, it's $50.
Warning first, 25,
Okay.
second, 50, third, and then anything after that can be 100 or even more. If we feel it's,
Got it.
just repeated and it's not changing.
Okay. I know that, and I'm not saying this as a suggested idea if it's not already done, but at some point, I think somebody said something about a lien on a property. Is that something that is also done or no?
I think the next step would be like the councilman said, take the balance, just take the barrels away, force them to get other means of trash removal.
Okay. I just wanted to see what the process was because I don't necessarily think I understood.
We've done that with a few properties in the course of time, but we use it as a last resort. Because like you say, it's going to create more problems.
Right, understood.
Go ahead. One more?
I have one more. I'm so sorry. I had my list ready to go. Rat abatement. Rats. Tell me what we do, what do we don't do? Is it
Well,
something that we just,
we bait properties. We don't have the resources to bait every property in the city, whether it's privately owned or unoccupied or not occupied by the owner. We can't do that. I need probably 10 rat people and 10 trucks and the resources and the amount for our budget would increase by millions, right? We can't do that. So what we do is we follow rules, and the rules on our criteria on our request form is the property has to be clean, it has to be owner occupied. And we do those properties. We do them for about 2 months. We get them started. We cannot continue that throughout the whole year, but we put a good bait down, which the bait is strong enough because we have licensed applicators working in my department. They have to pass the test. So the bait that we put is strong, it works. We get them started. And a lot of it is contagious. It's not only in one yard, it's in the neighbors. And there's got to be a source of food somewhere. Because the rat move in with us a source of food. And you see, I mean, we've all seen how they chew the barrels. So they can just walk right into the barrels for trash. Food source, right? So it's a battle for us, but if they put a request form in, it's free. We'll bait the property, we'll go back in a month, we'll see what's, you know, if it's been eaten, we replenish those boxes. And we come back in another month, and then at that point, we'll remove the boxes, I think at the third month. And then they have to resume if the problem still exists. They'll have to resume with a private testing.
And does that work? Has it been successful for people?
It's hard to follow it because it's such a problem. You know, rats just multiply so fast and it's harborage, it's where they are. Like I said, some of it is mattresses. A lot of times they're living in the ground. There's baseball sized holes that they dig in the ground. That's where they live. They prefer to come in the garage or a heated building. Absolutely would prefer that if they can get in. And then all they do is they multiply. I think their breeding cycle is something like 8 times a year. And they produce like 10, 12 in a litter. So you can imagine after 6 months, how many of those offsprings are reproducing already
Yeah.
at that time. So it's a battle.
Okay.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Going back to the rat thing, that, what you said about what you're doing, that's your policy, but what does the ordinance say? Because,
Well, you'd have to look at it because I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything in the ordinance that says anything different. But it could be our policy, but again, if we had to debate everyone, whether they're, you know, you gotta look at it this way, if people own tenement houses, they're making money. They can afford it more than a homeowner who might be struggling, right? So, but we can't afford to do every property in the city. Well, we've got our hands full already with baiting, and I have 2 guys, they do barrel distribution and they do baiting. And they're overworked. They cannot finish one room before they're overwhelmed with the next room. It's just like the director said, the barrels are at the end of their life. It's nonstop. And we do the best we can.
I believe our process mirrors the ordinance. We looked at that, I mean, we looked at it after that last.
I don't see anything in the ordinances.
Yeah.
Councilman.
no, oh, no, I'm sorry.
You were set? You were set?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Adam.
It's only, not a joke. It's the thing, I walk in for my neighbor and I see, another neighbor sit down in the backyard, you know, I knock the door, I say hi because I'm doing my clinic thing. So she sit down with a, baby gun. I say, what are you doing? Oh, I came the rat.
He's trying to do. Yeah. It becomes such a problem that
This is doing.
well, rats are supposed to be nocturnal, which means they're only coming out at night, right? But there's so many of them, and they haven't eaten at night, that they're out during the day. You see them all the time, you're in New York, they're out all day, every night, so it becomes that kind of a problem.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. So thank you very much. We want to pass with Nate about.
I'm good,
You're great.
thank you for.
Thank you.
And
Have a good day.
If anybody wants to do a mattress thing, contact me and we'll set it up. for you.
you got business stuff?
Okay, yeah.
I don't have any accounts with it, so.
Email me,
Okay,
email me.
Of course.
Sure you can find her.
thank you.
Sure.
Good, thank you for being here, Nate. Nate is the one who works about signs, location, stop signs, one-way signs, all those stuff, all those little things that you see in the street, even the streets.
Oh, wow.
So any question for Nate or?
I don't have a question.
You can write a track, like a sign.
Go ahead.
Sorry, not really a question, Nate, but I just want to say, Nate, I forgot to email you about the intersection at for the left turn, Charles and
We're trying to fit that in.
yeah, that's my fault. I'll send you a follow-up email probably tomorrow, so I just want to say that while I have you here.
Thank you. No question.
No, Nate and I are meeting tomorrow, so.
Great. Please, favor.
So you're gonna be putting up the signs, because what I envision, this is not happening, this is just my dream. I'm putting the signs all across the city where it identifies, places of interest and stuff. That will fall under, yeah,
Wayfinding signs?
yeah.
I think.
Does that fall under you, or would that be fine?
Oh,
Well, it depends where.
yeah, it could be part of a project, there are wayfinding signs mostly in downtown that we've,
Mhm.
that, you know, if they do get knocked down, we'll put them back up, but there's. Oh, you're not talking about neighborhood signs, where the actual street name has a neighborhood on top of it.
No, like.
Yeah, that's probably something that the planning department may have something,
Okay.
more sort of a project. As part of the great streets, I know they did it for the Broad Street project and so forth. So, yeah.
Okay.
Any other question for?
I think a sign in my area, I surprised, so, oh, wow. A little stuff, a little 20, the sign say, is that the limit is 20, so
Mhm.
I never see that. So,
What was that?
For the,
Speed limit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, around school,
mhm.
schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, state law says you within 300 feet of an exit or entrance from the school, you can, it's a 20-mile/hour speed if it's signed, so.
Mhm.
We do that periodically, because as part of speed cameras and other measures, we've also tried to concentrate on schools. There is some safety money relative to a certain amount of money that was put aside for safety from speed camera revenues, and that's something we've been doing because of signing and striking around schools for safety.
That's another,
I give a plug for that, because I wait for that sign for the Harper app, so I never see it. I see the money and wow, excuse me. I surprised,
What's that for that?
yes,
At the charter school thing?
yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, you petitioned, that's a state law, we did petition, the state to put that in and to, well, they have to prove that.
Well, but I see
To the
the
state
sign.
traffic commission. I think we followed up and put the signs down.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say that's another, idea for traffic calming.
Is speed cameras?
The signs,
Mhm.
the sign 20 miles per hour, 25 miles, so everybody sees the sign,
Yeah.
and that would make them think twice. And
Great.
Yeah, there's actually, hopefully, will be, that's one of the locations we want to put a speed cameras on.
Right.
This is another area where the police are challenged by their resources to enforcement. They just don't have the officers they need right now to do consistent daily speed enforcement, so we want to rely on as many of the other measures as we can.
That's what we discussed this morning, all the alternatives, cost, you also have to consider effectiveness. You gotta make sure, you can spend money or, but then you have to make sure it's going to probably make a difference. Sometimes we've done measures and it didn't quite solve the speeding problem, Yeah, right, more, something a little more intrusive, so.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Nate, there was something that just popped in my mind here. Metcalf Street, don't expect you to visualize Metcalf in the north end, but Metcalf Street is a,
Couple branch.
yes, actually, well, there's, cars keep going down this one way, and so neighbors have been asking me. What's that?
The wrong way? Or?
Yeah, the wrong way, sorry, the wrong way. And the neighbors were asking, can we put up a do not enter sign? It may not be impactful, but there could be something about a do not enter sign that sends a stronger message to drivers.
Yeah, I mean, if it is actually a one way.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay. There's, you can put it the second do not enter, you can put one ways. And you do not enter sign usually it's the beginning of where you can't enter. People looking at it straight out. The one way usually is people coming from the side, and see a one way, because it's traditional. So we can add sign. Make it bigger or whatever, yeah.
Go ahead.
For the street is the end street. So the sign is all the way when you go in. So the end, you're not can, doesn't go.
That end sign?
Yes, so the sign it have it, but it is far away, so you not can see when you go into that street, particular,
It's too far in after.
mhm. So it's too far, you not see, you think that you can go,
Which street is that?
it's, Ophelia,
Okay.
yeah, Ophelia. And that side, because they have another side, so that's at the end.
Okay, any other question for Benjamin?
Not a question, but management talking streets. Tandem Avenue, as you know, they fly up and down the wrong way on there too, and it's right in front of the school and the recreation center.
What street is that again?
Tandem Avenue and what?
Camden.
I really do think it probably should be a one-way going the opposite way, because, it doesn't really flow, so a lot of people, they figured that, well, I'll just scoot up, and it's not a super long street. So, I did notice that you put a one-way at the bottom of Vale.
Yeah. we were doing
But,
that last year, so.
yes, but it's not all the way down the rest of the street, so I think maybe if you put it over
So
there.
you notice people coming from the side streets and not going the right way?
Yeah, they come down, a lot of them are turning off the Chad Brown Street. And they'll fly up, and it seems like when they're doing wrong, they try to go even faster, which makes it worse because like I said, there's a recreation, there's a park there, there's a recreation there, and there's a school there. So they never know when the kids are gonna be, going across the street, And they're not looking that way because it's a one way, so you're not supposed to be coming up.
It's, additional signs are definitely helpful, especially if it's on, a lot of people with one ways. You'd be surprised at people that live on the street think it
Yes,
doesn't apply to them,
yeah, yes, yeah.
Thank you. Can I have bigger signs on Webster Avenue, School Avenue, Una enter signs? Because this later, so that will be instead.
Those are those during school time?
Yeah, during school time.
Yeah, I don't know if there were the small ones that was no line green.
You need to look to see them.
Yeah, so we replaced a lot of those over time with the regular size denominator and then a plaque underneath that says school days.
Right.
So people are more used to those signs that are bigger. A lot of times it's some way they did it because safety green or that line color is something that's around school, but it's too small. They we actually put it in two signs, one regular size denominator sign and then a plaque underneath. That tells them school days. What we can do.
Please, they need to be a little bit bigger, people, they miss those. Any other more questions for, one more?
Yeah, sorry, it just come to my mind here. I don't know if this is DPW-esque, but there is a constituent whose driveway, you let me know if I'm sort of making sense here. The curb is kind of like interfering in their driveway, so it's, I have a picture I could show you, anyone who's specializes in this, but when they back up or drive into the driveway, they're basically driving over the curb. And so what they want to do is flatten that if possible.
And I think it's the driveway is interfering with the curb. Yeah,
So,
not the curb, not interfering with the
Got
driveway.
it.
The driveway is interfering.
interesting, okay, because they bought the home like that.
Is there a curb cut? Driveway, at the driveway there?
Can you, after this, can you show us some pictures? and we'll
Yep.
take a look at it?
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions for? For last, can we call for Sal, please?
Your turn.
Highway Department,
Come on down.
come on down, Sal. This department is one of the biggest departments in the and the one that is very strong. Without this department, nothing goes done. So, Sal, thank you very much for coming. And before we go into questions, the only income department is environment, right? That's the only one who issue tickets. like fines?
That's the only ones that issue tickets, but the engineering department collects, permit fees.
Oh, correct, okay, to the parcel, done. Okay, thank you.
And you're right, and traffic.
In traffic, yeah.
There's permits for traffic, correct.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Can you please leave a little brief what the department does?
Division, highway division,
Yeah, how is it?
basically we do street sweeping at night. We handle snow plowing. Sometimes we shovel some of the bridges, the sidewalks on the bridges. We handle all of the tipping cans, the trash cans, empty them out daily, first shift, second shift, and on Sundays. We do a lot of weed whacking, city-owned property, Huntington Avenue, we have all the grass islands. We have some on Eagle Street. We deal with about 30 dumping grounds, which we visit 3 days a week. Worst being, some in Orange, Troy, Magnolia, Podusky, Buffalo Court, Savati Way, Huntington Avenue. We do, cleans and liens, which, properties that most likely abandoned. Environment will go to their site, do what we have to do, and then it falls onto me, then we go in there, and we clean the property, and we send it back to environment, and they fill out what it costs us to clean it. We handle a lot of pickups that waste management will not pick up from environmental inspectors. Basically, there's nothing we don't do. We do potholes, sidewalks. As far as the sidewalks, we do concrete and asphalt.
And if I may,
Go ahead.
there's also an aspect of the situation regarding housing solutions. So with this week's closure of the Cranston Street Armory as a shelter for homeless, there is a working group that tries to address various, encampments or even just, people needing that assistance, and it ranges from helping them get healthcare, helping them get mental health assistance, helping them ultimately get housing. But at the end of that whole process, DPW is at the end of that process to help clean up wherever the site was. With respect to people's possessions, and we have a process in place to take care of their possessions until they're in a position where they can take them back. But it'll be self-approved, has been self-approved, that deals with those kinds of cleanups as well.
We also deal with hurricane barrier. We do testing twice a year. Clean up the trash inside the hurricane barrier. If they need trash cans installed, we install them. If they're removed, we remove them. Benches around city property, we install and remove them.
Great. Any question for?
You can go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, you say, for the. I have one, in Bloomfield Avenue case, remove the container for the trash container. And then he said he want it back, so what can I do with that? Because we have the container for the trash in this sidewalk,
Trash can tipping.
yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know who take it off. And he said he wanted to put it back, so
Smash.
I don't think so, it was smashed. He had it for a long time, and also he had the circle in the sidewalk. He had the container there, somebody take it off.
We remove it if it was damaged. Or if the property, if the store owner uses that as a personal use for his business. But they will go in there with a courtesy, and let them know, listen, before, people walking out of your store, you can't use it, as your personal trash from your business. Or so bags, sometimes there are tenants that live above stores, and we find house trash bags, trash cans.
I received a complaint, he wanted back, so what can I do? Say no,
So you know why it was removed?
he doesn't know.
Okay, before we go, with the address, we mark them all down, why, if something was removed, either be, some sort of an accident or a missing barrel or whatever it may be, so. We can add this, I could probably take it to why it was removed, if we removed it.
Oh, okay.
We do have a trash can that somebody doesn't move, from one place to another.
Oh, okay. So I found out in the address, because I know it's in Plenty, but I have a corner, because they have a couple business over there on that side. So I found out that what the street is like in the corner, so that's exactly, so I can send it, because I have a pictures, okay, he sent it to me. Okay.
Any, thank you. Any other question? Go ahead, Councilman. Kristen.
So before I start, I just want to thank you guys for everything that you do, because I know that perhaps it sounds like all we come with is complaints, and it's absolutely not how we see things at all. At least I can speak for myself that I value very much everything that you guys do to make sure that we're doing the very best we can for the city. And that I want you guys very much to know that, because it's important to me. One of the things that I've done for my ward is request more trash cans. I have, and this is something that I'm intending to do with my little bit of funds that come at the start of the new budget. Douglas Avenue is a place where there's a lot of just throwing of just whatever it might be. And one of the things that I thought that would be convenient for the people, because there's a lot of walking transit over there, just like an extra couple of trash cans all the way up through into the Admiral side, in hopes of people being more effective with the trash cans. But what I wanted to know was, when we request these trash cans, or we say, hey, DPW, this is what we're gonna do with our money, I'd love to know what the process is for you, if it makes, like, what is it that we should be aware of as that request comes to you guys, because it would be more stops for you, it would be more pickups.
Paying for them, I think it's up to the council.
It's, yeah, council covers it.
We maintain them, depends how many you're putting them out and where you're putting them out.
So is it, if I come to you and say, hey, listen, I'm prepared to put out 9 trash cans on Douglas Ave. This 9 is just a random number. Would it be best for me to come to you and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about putting them trash cans over on the Douglas Ave side. Can you tell me where you think it would be the best place to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go to the director,
Yeah.
if you want more on Douglas Avenue, we're already on Douglas Avenue.
Yeah.
It's not gonna take us much longer and go through more.
Right, okay. I just wanted to,
I like that suggestion, that, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
just in an effort of making sure that we're cognizant of all of the, of
And
the work that we're already doing.
Place where you think that, you know,
Yeah.
fit you alive and go stuff.
Right, I think about them on Eaton Street as well, but I'm not sure,
Where Eaton Street?
Yeah,
We have one on the corner of Douglas and Union, at the
Yeah.
gas station.
yeah,
Then the next
but
one-
nothing all the way up through
Nothing
where
on
the
Eaton
houses
Street.
are, yeah. I think about it and then I hesitate, because I know that the student housing companies do a job of cleaning up, but on the weekends, they're not on, and the parties happen on the weekends. And so there's 2 days of littering all over the
I
streets.
think we have 3 on Eaton Street right now.
Yeah, so I go back and forth on that. I think that they should be responsible for them, but that's a conversation for another day.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Providence College at one time, we had the blue and red cups after weekend times. They would hire.
Yeah.
Somebody would hire, I don't know if it was a 029 Way Realty Company,
Mhm.
that are most of the streets, hire somebody on Saturday morning and Sunday morning to sweep up the whole area.
So it was something that was customary for years and years and years, and actually the only time I've noticed that it hasn't happened was the last couple of weeks, where we're getting into the graduation season and the nice weather, and I've noticed that the littering has been there all weekend long. And I did see a man picking up glass bottles and cans, but I think that was for like exchanging. So the rest of it was kind of still left there, and I followed up with an email, but you know.
Saturday morning, I was driving on East Coast, Douglas Avenue, 4 houses before you hit the
Yep.
gas station number 11.
Mhm.
The whole front lawn was loaded with bottles and
Yep.
cups.
Yep.
Body time.
And that's gonna continue happening all this week. So it's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out how to move forward with, which is why I've hesitated about the city covering trash cans on Eaton Street. But then my very last question, and this is like it for everything. I promise, sidewalks. The requests that we get for sidewalks are often, some of them are full-on sidewalks in front of a home, but then there's others where it's just one block, for lack of a better word. And I want to know what the best way is. I have a list of running Italian.
We'll go right there, we'll just make it safe for now. The problem we're having is we want cement, you have to order a certain amount.
Mhm,
Basically, one block is 4x4.
mhm.
So I mean, you're looking at less than a yard of cement, and they'll charge you for like 3 yards or 4 yards.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is make the small ones safe. Once I get a few in that ward, then we'll just go and, do it the right way. Then we have a cement truck visit all those locations, and, if we're paying for 3 or 4 yards, we're getting 3 or 4 yards.
Okay,
And one of the aspects in the finance hearing, because I didn't need to step out, I think you left before.
Before you guys started, yeah.
So kind of to sidewalk issues at like 2 levels. So level 1 is like the Sal just talked about, make something safe, you got one section that's tipping, and maybe because of the tree or whatever. That's why we requested an extra sidewalk for this budget, to help us handle those kind of one-offs.
got it.
There's a level 2, which is more comprehensive sidewalk plan, considering, looking at all of the wards, factoring in considerations of equity and of where we've been already and where we want to finish. There's some really great maps that Craig has that shows, where work has been completed and how it would continue. And so that's a conversation with the council that we'll be having to make sure that we move forward with our sidewalks overall.
Thank you, guys, from me.
Well, you answered a lot of my questions already, thank you, John.
I think we have the same thing going on.
But jumping on the barrels, my question is there a specific yardage that they have to be a part, or does that play?
How do you decide how many tippings are?
It's usually the councilman, this council person, that determines where they want
Okay, so
them. It's normally in front of like stores or like, businesses that's active.
Mhm.
Put it in front of somebody's house, we normally do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's usually in front of a business.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's why I think that communication is really important. I don't want to end up with like some kind of shadow waste management responsibility that from DPW highway that we wouldn't be able to handle.
Yeah, and ours run, so I have the other part of Douglas Avenue, so I'm thinking the same way. I have one down for the, oh God, the pizza place on Douglas Avenue, I don't know if it went in yet. Golden Crust, yeah,
Avenue?
yes.
On Oakland Avenue?
No, on Douglas Avenue.
Okay.
They moved.
They do go,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah, so I put one in a while back and it was approved, but I don't know if it went in.
that one goes for me,
Okay,
Who is that?
or would be the council person
Oh.
at the time.
no, I put one in and it was
Oh,
approved,
you put it in?
and it was approved. Sean said it, yeah, it went through with you guys but I don't know if it's in there. It wasn't in like a month ago because I got in contact with me. The other thing is, the street thing, you know, they're doing that. We got last year, when I had nothing to do with council, they sent us out a list of all the dates, because it's supposed to be before dates. Do you guys still
On our
have?
website.
Okay, could I just have one, just if it's because I've put it in several locations throughout the ward, so that everybody can.
Isn't the website to have that information?
Yeah, but everybody doesn't go on the website.
Oh.
Yeah, so if I,
Hard copy?
Yeah, I can email that to you.
please,
Okay.
and please to my email, because I'm still not getting anything on this web. this
I have
other
one.
web they have. I think I gave it to you, but if not, I'll give it to you.
Gotta make sure I have it right.
Director, could you email that to me as well?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Tina had the information, she sent it to me.
Okay, see, I
Yeah.
found it out.
Yeah, Tina, because
She did
I-
the one, she did for one, but there's 4.
What time's here?
4 times a year.
Yeah, Yeah.
But we are only one now.
Yeah, no, but I like to put the dates up so people are aware of it.
Yeah,
So even though we do 4 times a year, most of the time we're ahead of schedule, so we'll do it, we'll go back into the awards, just to do the main. Some of the secondary are really busy.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I just want to say, thank you all for demystifying DPW for us right now. I wanted to just give praise to Sal. I think, Sal, you are consistent, reliable, radically accessible.
it's the famous.
And in the city council, you have a very high approval rate. So, man, thank you so much.
So I would disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But I have to say that, you know, I'm new here too, so, these other
Good.
men and women, they're not maybe as visible as highway all the time, but as accommodating as a hardworking.
For sure.
And expert in their fields.
I just wanted to, Sal was one of the first.
It's going to get so big. It's not gonna be wide enough.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
This is the first one that-
He's the first person I know from DPW, and I think I've made communication with him mostly, but in all, you know,
That's fair.
in DPW's defense, I think you all work really hard, and so as I move forward in my term, I'm sure I'll feel just as I do with Zach, so, but anyways, thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you, Director, for saying that.
And
I want to add that, the first number they give it to me here, this is the.
That's
And then
true.
thank you for, Mambro, thank you for the cooking next time when you come back, he cookie very good. I know, and Christmas he gave one to my husband. So, yeah, so next time we bring it.
okay, yeah, mine is also just a comment. I appreciate all that you guys do, and I agree with Shelley. We know that most of the time you get all the plaque, you know. Having said that, I want to invite you to my next meeting. I'll make sure I send it out, which is gonna be at the the new theater down on oh God.
We get.
Valid.
We get notice to the
Yeah,
council office.
yeah,
Yeah.
so please, guys, come out because, last time you really were there, we spent so much
Oh,
time.
about car wash.
Yeah, we spent so much time on that you guys didn't get a chance to really say anything, you know, so I appreciate you coming and really give your spiel. And yes, you will be yelled at, but I think it's par for the course, that's what happens. I get yelled at and then you get.
One more question before we finish. Those trash cars that they usually go and pick up at nighttime and during the afternoon, we can move those around, right?
We'll pick up during the day and afternoon, could you move them around?
Yeah, like I said, this location is not working anymore, and we move that car.
Can you?
Trash car from a different location.
Well, that's up to the council, but we have to, can't move it, or let us know. that-
No, I'm saying you got the,
Because
halfway to the
reality, it's the ward that owns the trash cans, we just bring them, so.
inside there. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, Liz, not last, she's not going away without presenting her. Maureen. Welcome, Maureen. Thank you very much for coming, and you've been doing a great job in helping us. So we'll be take only 5 minutes. From Maureen. Yeah. Maureen is the right hand side of the director. She's the one.
bet.
working-
You bet.
Thank you very much. So any question for Maureen, she's the deputy director, she's the one who, director, if you need anything, please send her an email. Or anything. Okay, any question for her?
Only want to say thank you. I received my containers, brand new. So next time when I fill it out the form, so we're going forward. Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, Director, when we, email you, should we include both of you on email, just for, yeah,
Please.
okay.
just so that we can know, it's important to me that all of the. So like somebody does a good job, you can go right back to that person, it's human nature, it's natural, and that's totally fine, and I have nothing but confidence in every one of these people.
Yeah.
But it's good for me to know where the issues are, what the response has been, how, because I might get asked the same question by a different council person and not know that someone else has already dealt with that issue, and I want to make sure that we're giving everyone the same answer, and there's consistency in that level of service that we want to provide. So it's not meant to check on anybody or anything like that. It's just that I want to make sure I know what the communication is in and out of the department.
Director, before we go, the handicap parking signs, we should go through you and Nate?
Yes.
Okay. now-
Yeah, if you want to reach, like I said, like you've had a good experience with Nate, obviously, so you want to naturally reach out to Nate, that's fine, just copy me.
Okay,
Just make sure that like I know what's going on.
not a problem. Any other more questions? None? Guys, thank you very much, Maureen, you did a great job.
Wow.
So we are going to
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Second. Second, Mike. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming, for your time. So everybody knows what's going on.